where we want to go with our career. What do I want to do? What's my next move with my career? Why am I feeling stuck here with what I'm doing? I remember when I started off in my career, I had no idea what I was doing, what I wanted to do. I want everyone to feel comfortable coming on. We will have professionals talking to you, myself and others. We'll be consistent. We will feed your soul. We want you to ask questions. But I just think it's a platform that will allow you to really feel comfortable gaining information so that you can move forward in your career. You're listening to VK Career Conversations with Val. Be sure to tune in the first Monday of every month at 8 a.m. Well, hello. How are you guys doing? I'm so excited about this career conversation. It's been a while. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's been a while since I've been on, with everything that's been going on in my life and just kind of moving. I'm so excited. I need this VK career conversation. And I think this conversation that we're getting ready to have about the red flags in the workplace, I think is so befitting for this era that I'm in right now. And so I'm excited about that. I want to start off by saying, how are you doing? And as everybody can see, we're somewhere else other than, well, I am for sure. I'm not in Houston. I am on site at another location working. And so I'm excited to just be able to talk to you guys. Just take some time to come on here and have a conversation. So Day, how are you doing today?
I am great. Having a great start to the week on Hump Day, and thankful to have electricity and AC.
Oh my God! Did you lose any power? Were you one of the ones?
No, we didn't. But I'm just grateful because I know people are still not with power in some areas.
Yes. We were fortunate as well. All I lost is my gazebo, and of course, Brother Carter, my husband, said, "Oh, that's nothing that duct tape can't fix." If y'all know anything about him, that word, yes, exactly. That word, the fact that he said duct tape, and hey guys, put some comments for those guys that are out there wanting to find the cheaper way to fix a problem. Put your comments in there, and just know that Brother Carter did not win. It actually cost him a great penny more because he suggested duct tape. So other than that, my new gazebo is up and going. I have my Zen spot. So Dr. Pinkston, how are you doing, and welcome?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Happy to be here as always. I think it's a great topic, and luckily in San Antonio we escaped the whole weather process. And I had a phone call with somebody a couple days ago, and telemedicine, and they said if I have to disappear and hang up, all of a sudden the sirens are going off. We have a tornado warning. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God. Yes, you put your hand up there, and I can't go past it.
Right.
Don't hide. We do have to say congratulations. Since we last been on here, Dr. Pinkston is now engaged. It's official. So we're really happy for her, guys. Show us some love out there. Can you put that ring up again?
I know she just
went like, can we see it?
Yeah.
Good. That's a fist bump there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Congratulations, and I'm so excited for you. And Abigail, how are you doing? You're looking gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm doing good today. I'm so excited to be here. I was saying I always like when you're in studio, obviously, but it is kind of the way it looks right now. It kind of looks like we're like in a Zoom call meeting. It gives the real like business corporate life effect, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, hey, we just got to keep it going. Well, let's just jump into this conversation as it pertains to red flags in the workplace. Let's talk about that, and we're going to start off. I want to talk about in staffing. Let's talk about have you hired someone, or have you noticed in your interviews when you're interviewing before you've hired, has there been any red flags and you knew in your gut that you probably shouldn't have moved forward with that, but you did it anyway?
Yeah, I'll step over. Yeah, so owning my own business and like we're all doing here. That's always difficult because there have been times where I thought I was going to be wrong about somebody, that this wasn't going to work out, that they actually turned out to be the best of the best. So I always try to be real cautious in my mind about judging on the energy that I get initially. Sometimes first impressions, there's people can make a little mistake or have a bad day or something. So I try to be careful. But yes, I have had people that I questioned a bit, or that my business partner truly wanted hired. And I was not satisfied with the whole setup and did anyway because of them, and wound up understanding that this was a mistake, and it became a hassle and difficult to handle, and kind of split the office. It was a really difficult situation.
Oh, okay. What about you, Dave? As a
So
business,
I haven't had as many hiring opportunities because I have only hired 2 employees or 3, and they've all worked out great.
oh,
But
fortunate
Girl.
yes, but what I will say is contracting with vendors, because as a business owner, sometimes I'll contract with vendors to do certain projects for me,
Uh-huh.
and I have had red flags, and I've invested the money, and sure enough, I'm like, this is not worth my money or time
Yeah.
or headache. And I think it's the same. It works the same whether you are bringing someone on full time, though it's more liability there. But even when you're just hiring someone short term, or a 1099 or a vendor, it's still you kind of need to observe those red flags because they're still going to be costly with your
Right.
time and your energy. So yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to ask Abigail, as an employee, have you had red flags? And I do want our team, our guys out there, put in the comments, bless you. Have it been any red flags for you starting a job or interviewing for a job that you've ran into? And if so, why and what did you do?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've had to I've seen some red flags before, and I think I've talked about it on here before. The job that I had before I started working for you, I had worked at that company for a while, but I moved locations, and not so much when I interviewed, but whenever I actually started working there, the red flags were raising for me because I worked under a general manager and a couple other managers, and I felt like a lot of responsibility was being put on me in terms of firing, not so much the hiring part because I was already involved in that, but my GM would not like fire people that their like disciplinary points added up and they didn't fire them, and so that was kind of left up to me. And I was like, well, you're asking someone new to come in here and start firing people. I feel like that's a red flag. You're kind of setting me up to lose respect to all of our employees. So those are kind of some of the red flags I noticed.
One of the things that and we talked about this before as well, trust in your gut. A lot of times when those red flags are coming up, and even as an employee, you got to really trust your gut. When you have, and one of the big red flags for me is someone that's always engaging in gossip, or someone that wants to come and bring something to me that they heard.
Drama.
Those are big red flags. And so I think in the workplace, you want to be friendly with the people you work with, but you don't want to, you shouldn't, let me say this here, you shouldn't engage in gossip and sharing all of your personal business and their business and everybody else's business, because sooner or later it's going to end up into a mess and a problem. So with that being said, let's talk about when employees get into gossip, they get into disparaging of the company or other employees. Anybody have any feedback on that or feelings toward that?
Yeah, so I feel the same way that you feel, Ms. Val, because I feel like if they're talking about someone else to you, they're talking about you to someone else. That's gonna happen. So you have to be guarded. And one of my personal I guess mantras, manifestos. If we break bread together, I'm not going to talk about you, and I'm not going to let anybody around me. I will dismiss myself from the conversation or be your advocate to say we're not going to do that here. That's just me personally, but because I don't want anyone to do that to me either. But I feel like if you observe someone always coming to you with the tea, they probably doing the same thing to you to someone else, and so that's a red flag. So I wouldn't even engage in it.
Most of the time, when someone is bringing you something and it's not something that is detrimental to you in that moment, it is gossip, and it is harmful to you because you really have to set that boundary. I'm not here for that. Dr. Pinkston, I mean, you have been on this professional career path for a long time. I don't mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking age.
Couple
For
of
a while.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
With that being said, you've seen all kinds. You've seen professionals and you've seen,
Yeah.
non-professionals. Have you experienced that with
Oh,
people?
gosh. Absolutely.
And how do you deal with it? And what advice would you give to an employee when they are faced with it?
That is something that as I've gotten older and wiser, I tend to deal with very differently. In the beginning, I always felt like I needed to be friends with my staff and let my partner be kind of the bad guy and I was the good guy, and just kind of like mom dad type of thing. And then I started to figure out that people will use that against you, your kindness and when you get to a point where you've been rubbed the wrong way a couple of times, it's when you finally begin to develop some boundaries. And so my advice is to develop those boundaries at the onset. Don't get over friendly. It's really, you spend so much time at work and so much time away from home, and away from your family and friends. You kind of want to develop an atmosphere with yourself of a place you want to be with people you want to be with.
Right.
Unfortunately, not everybody is capable of that kind of a relationship. And the toxicity of it all will rub off so quickly and just expand. The drama in the room will just blow up so quickly. And you really have to learn how to develop those boundaries and make sure that you don't overshare and give people ammunition against you, because that's exactly what they'll do.
I think that is really good advice because I think, especially as employees, young employees, and even some older employees that have probably engaged in that, they're probably trying to figure out or have realized that it wasn't a good move, but now they're probably trying to figure out how to get out of it.
Right.
And I can give you any advice, just stop today.
Yeah.
Let today be your last day of engaging in that. You can start today setting boundaries and saying to individuals, please refrain from bringing that information to me. I really don't want to be a part of this because one, I love my job, or I really want to make sure that there is a healthy environment around me. So with that being said, I want to know if we're getting any questions in there. It's kind of hard. I'm not there. So,
Yes.
okay.
So we have everyone, I kind of showed those comments, people just saying hello, good morning. Amy on YouTube said, Valerie, I'm kind of jealous. You're looking like a young Valerie.
Yeah, she looks a little different today. I don't know what it is.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Amy. It's just I don't know what is going on with me. Could it be the sunlight? No, I'm just
She's gorgeous.
Thank you so much.
And then we have Ray on YouTube says, toxicity in the workplace is nowadays more active than before.
Seems like it.
And I think it goes back to, and I don't want to keep that up there because I think it really has since COVID, and I've really been talking about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really happening just everywhere now. People have gotten a pass for whatever reason that they think it's okay to be rude, to be dismissive, to be disrespectful, almost as if it's a badge of honor. And we have to go back to the basics of treating people the way we want to be treated. And when people are being toxic, I think we have to find a healthy way to communicate. When you said this is how it made me feel. Don't just let it pass you by. Don't let people just feel like they got permission to handle and treat you that way, but don't step to their level. So I think the toxic work environment can be changed, and it can change with you setting boundaries.
I agree with since COVID, I have seen a very, very distinct change in society.
Yes.
Being a physician, I get to see, 30 different people, a day,
Mm.
and the whole demeanor change that people are angry. People,
Yes.
I think that it really caused a huge amount of distrust. And the same thing, what happened with COVID happened at the same time as a lot of the political upheaval as
Mhm.
well. And that
Yes.
was largely divisive. So, it was pro vaccine, non vaxxers, and then the political, divisiveness. And that all hit at the same time. It seems to have leveled out and gotten a little bit better now, I feel, but it's still there. It's really, really changed us as a society.
I think it's changing in some places, but I think it's even more toxic in others. And I think what's happening, it depends on, and I really don't like to really give that much weight to the political noise that's out there, but the political noise is playing a big part in it.
It
And
exists.
it really is playing a big part. And it's such a battle right now that it's turning people off, but at the same time, you need to be turned on so that you don't let this thing take over,
Right.
because it is really getting ugly out there. Dave, what's your thought on that?
So as you were saying this topic, I thought about something that's currently going on in my industry. And I'm sure there are platforms like this across all industries, but there's a site, and I won't even give its name. There's a site that you go to as a pharmaceutical rep, and it just tells all the behind the scenes gossip that every company is experiencing. So I forget about it. I never go on there, but it's truly toxic because whenever somebody says anything at a company, people can tag their company and just spew negative things, and it goes back to what you guys said post COVID. I think the online bullying, the online toxicity has like just went through the roof, just grew so much. And it's so prevalent because now instead of confronting people in person, which most people won't do, you can
Right.
go online and be a keyboard gangster and just go in.
Yes.
Speaking of red flags, with this particular incident, um, they have been openings for leadership positions. And because of how some people are commenting about leaders in this company on this site, some of my colleagues are seeing it as red flags. Like, you know what? I don't want to be in this role because this is the culture. If this is the
Right.
culture of how they're going to act when you do or say things,
Yes.
I don't want any parts of that. Which
And
is
that
really
go
sad, but
it's
that's
really
kind of
sad. And see, it's actually counterproductive. They're using this platform to really spew negativity
yeah.
and then tear someone down at the detriment of you trying to change it. How you're part of the problem?
Right.
You're
Yeah,
not a part of the
they're not
solution.
even solution, or they just want to get on there and vent and argue. And when I saw the post, I'm like, I don't even want to look at this because not only is it negative, but it's taking up my mental capacity. I need to be doing other things. I don't have time for this.
And
But
I think this, and I think that, and I hope that there's someone out there that's probably struggling with: should I stay on this job? Should I go? Should I join this company? If you are unhappy in your current role, I know everyone can't just up and quit a job, but if you're unhappy, work towards your exit. But while you're there, be a professional until the day you walk out. And then don't put your name on the company you're leaving because it always ties back to you. When you put good out there, good comes back to you. So I'm a firm believer at this point in my life. Guess what, guys? I'll be celebrating my 60th birthday this year. I'm so excited. But anyway, I have learned, and I would always tell my employees, I was one of the worst employees that anyone can hire. And I like to be very honest with you. In my younger days, I was probably one of the worst employees. I did everything humanly possible to get out of working hard. I did everything humanly possible to figure out how to beat the system.
Mm.
And the only person that helped hurt was me. I I let negativity come in and I became negative. But it wasn't until I changed who I was as a person. I always felt like I had to be the spokesperson for when the managers are doing something wrong. I felt like I was the one, tag you it, you go speak. No, that's all a reflection of me. And so I'm saying to the people, I love being honest about who I am and my journey and where I came from. It can change today for you. You can change to do better and be better today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can make a conscious decision to say, I don't want to be toxic in the workplace and I don't want to stay in a toxic environment.
That's good.
We have some more questions that I want to read. So I'm going to first read a comment and then I'm going to read a question after that. So this comment says, I'm a new intern in my company, but I'm having trouble settling there. I have to do work which I'm not supposed to do, and all the gossip behind me is getting tough for me.
Right.
But then Dawn asked, have you ever been the topic of office gossip? I thought that was a juicy question because I love tea. So I'm trying to spill the tea.
I think we're going to come back to Dawn's question, but I'm going to have Dr. Pinkston, if you could you give Betty some assistance on this?
Yeah, you know what? When you're new at a place, and you have to kind of, what I'm seeing and thinking might be going on in that environment is that there are a lot of people who don't want to do their job. You're the new guy, and so, as Val said, tag you're it, and it is something that's going to be dumped on you, and I think that is an immediate red flag right there for you to pay attention to. And the fact that you're an intern is great because that means you are not hired, and therefore you're not going to have to maybe stay long. It may be that you're interning first to become a part of that company, but it sounds like to me that there's a major red flag there that, first of all, you're being dumped on to do work that nobody else wants to do. And generally, people who are not doing what they're supposed to do are behind most of the gossip. And I can tell
literally,
you,
that's the truth because they're deflecting, and I'm putting myself out there. They're deflecting from what they're not doing, and they're projecting onto you. Right. So you really, really, really have to look at those red flags. So.
Yeah, and I think too, there is an amount of jealousy sometimes that comes behind a lot of that type of toxicity. And I think people are looking at you as the young gunner and new, and they're probably not very happy where they are. Mm-hmm. Therefore, like she said, deflecting on you, their dissatisfaction with what's going on. So definitely need to take a very close look at that before you sign any dotted lines. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell somebody not to take a job.
Right.
Maybe there's a different place in the company, a different department. Sometimes department to department, there are differences. This department is a terrible place to be. This department is the best place to be. Mm-hmm. And that's usually about your leadership. Right. So that's the other thing to do is to turn around and look who is leading this department. Mm-hmm. Somebody there in the leadership category is dropping the ball. Yeah. And allowing all of this to occur. So those are kind of the thoughts I have about it. I'm sorry you're in that situation.
I know.
Okay. What's next?
Dawn's comment too.
So Dawn said, "Have you ever been the topic of office gossip?"
Well, I'm sure.
Talking to a bunch of divas on here, honey. Yes.
Dawn, I'm sure that I have in my younger years and definitely in my older years. And I think now more so because I am more of a no nonsense kind of person, but I'm very friendly. I'm very welcoming and kind. However, I think sometimes, let me just say yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with the on 4 days, she needs to have a moment to talk to you. But I think it is, when you're the topic of office gossip, you're usually somebody who is trying to do something, forward and move the company forward and trying to be a face of change and so oftentimes again that jealousy,
Oh my God.
will come up and people will go on the attack from that side. And so yeah, anybody who has a type A personality wants to effort change in a place.
Yes, just put your steel toe boots on and keep it pushing.
Keep going. Just keep going.
Never let them see you sweat.
That's right.
I think it depends on what you're being gossiped about, right? Because like I'm sure people like you said, Dr. Pinkston, I'm sure there's people that are like, oh well, she's trying to make me do more work. Like, yeah, girl, you do more work. Like that's what you're here for. But if people are gossiping about you, it's because like, ooh, I heard she has a new boyfriend, or I heard this and that about her. Like I think it's one thing. Like I wouldn't mind if someone didn't necessarily like me professionally, like because maybe I was pushing them harder than they want to be pushed. That doesn't bother me. But I think where it kind of gets sticky is when people are starting to now gossip about like your personal life because you're putting too much of that out there.
And that's exactly right. That means that you've shared a bit too much of your information with the people that you are working with. You've made them into your personal friends, and they are not your friends. So be very careful with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You had anything to add to that? Have you ever been gossiped about a day?
I was just thinking kind of along the lines of what Abby said. I feel like if I have been, wasn't aware, but I have been in a negative way. It never made it back to me. I have been gossiped about where people were either in a good way, like, she did this, or they were curious about something they saw and they wanted more information. They've been nosy.
That's me.
It's like I was being talked about in different circles. But it was something like Dr. Payson said, where I was doing something different that people don't normally do.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh,
they don't like change.
Doing,
right.
And just wanting to know, being nosy, being curious. And I have had that happen. I don't know. Yeah, so that has happened.
All righty. We got any more?
Yes, we have a few more questions. But Darnell said, and I'm kind of with Darnell on this one, gossip is in my blood.
Yeah.
You may be
as long as it's not malicious.
Right.
All right.
Like Day said, I think cause I'm a very nosy person, so I'm gonna be like, so what was that I'll be sly about it though. I'll be like, so what were you and so talking about? That looked interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, not for anything bad. And then Rosemary said, I think more people gossip because of curiosity. They want to feel in the loop. They want to feel like they know something somebody else doesn't.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think that too. They want to be a part of it.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be negative.
Yeah.
Okay, but negativity is breeds a lot of days where you don't want to get up and go to that
and you don't want the place that you have to spend so many wake hours at to be so dreadful coming in.
Right.
So just make sure that you're not bringing that to the workplace and pointing it at someone else. Check yourself before you come to the office.
Yeah, there's such a thing as like, you can have conversations, fun conversations. They don't have to be harmful. They can just be like fun and whatever. Joyce McRae said, is being strict in the workplace also being toxic?
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm going to tell you strict. I don't think it's anything wrong with when I say strict, because we're all adults. And please hear me out this, and you guys please come back. We're all adults. But I think that when you give people clear expectations of what their roles are and their responsibility, that's one thing. I don't want to, as a leader, have to babysit you or I have to micromanage you. So if I'm being strict because I've given you clear expectations and now I'm holding you accountable for that, that is what a good leader is supposed to be. So you have to figure out, is that a strict expectation, or have they given you clear expectations? And you're unwilling to do those, and so the workplace seems toxic because you're not doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes that toxicity comes from other people not doing what they're supposed to. Therefore,
Exactly.
the leader is having to come down on people,
Mhm.
or maybe a leader too. It may not be a very good leader. That strictness may be more of an insult at times.
Yes,
You know,
control.
yeah, or control, or kind of a power trip.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's when it does become a toxic environment, is when you have somebody who's on a power trip. So
Yes, I was at um, one of my clients' office, and we had to address it was an HR training that I was doing, and this particular, without going into the name of the company, the management was really toxic. They were getting a lot of bad reviews, and one of the things that came out is that uh, probably over 60% of their managers, their staff viewed them as being hostile to work with. And they came off in the meeting in the beginning. I guess they thought they were going to be able to kind of, you know, fool me, try to look like the perfect one. But when at the end of the meeting, I really got some great feedback because they had to own how they were engaging with their employees, how they're talking. And one of the things that they said, they were projecting on their employees what they were getting from their leadership.
Wow.
And they were frustrated in their own workplace, in their workplace, and they didn't recognize that they were putting that same frustration back on their team. So if you're a leader out there, really check yourself. It's always good to do a temperature check. And I always tell my team, especially when I know I'm stressing and I got a lot going on, I'm very transparent with them. I let them know. Mentally, I'm not there. I may need to work remotely. And I know everybody doesn't have that luxury, or, I'm going to do something a little different than working on a bunch of meetings today. So check yourself if you're a leader out there. Really be aware of how you're projecting on your employees.
Yeah. I think too that nowadays we are sometimes overusing the word toxic environment.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That it could be that you just aren't used to confrontation or accountability or responsibility.
That's a good
And I
one.
feel like people use it as soon as someone tells them something they don't want to hear.
Right.
Is a toxic
That's a good one.
and that's not always the case. So check yourself. And I think that if someone is giving you clear expectations that seem fair, where everyone else has got the same expectations, and then you are held accountable, that is not toxic. That is someone treating you like an adult.
Yeah.
And you have to be mindful of that.
Yes.
I just think that people, every time we look up, it's toxic. And I'm not dismissing anything that truly is,
Sure.
but also on the other side, think about how it started, and then how you can kind of vet how it looks for other people, and then look within yourself to just make sure to just pressure check to see if it really is toxic or if it's
Well said.
You just don't like it. Yeah.
Very good.
Well said.
Very good. All right, what else we got there?
So kind of going back to toxic and gossiping and stuff like that. Stephen Robart also said, when we were talking about people who gossip, he said they just want to know everything, but they are the most resourceful people, which is true, because if anybody knows about layoffs or anything that's going to affect your standing in the company, they're going to know. They're going to be like, oh, so-and-so's going to get the promotion. So they are resourceful people if you really want to know where you stand sometimes. So, and then Herman Lane said, if I'm in the office, there's no hot or sour situation. It's just a plain workplace. I think he's saying he kind of likes the drama. I think everybody does a little bit.
Y'all petty this morning. No.
Well, it may be like a soap opera. I can't wait to go to work today to see what so-and-so's done.
So-and-so is doing, yes.
Well, think about the show The Office. They always have some, even if it's not any crazy drama, they're always gossiping even just about something small. So like I said earlier, I think there's ways to have fun at work and to make it a fun and comfortable environment without being harmful harmful. And that is kind of a different line for each person. So that's why I think when you're trying to be as professional as possible, like, yeah, you want to be likable and you want to have fun, but you have to have your priorities straight. Like, okay, I'm only going to have fun up to this point. You know what I mean? And that's where the boundaries come in.
I also say check your environment. There are some businesses that does not, you just can't,
Yeah.
you can't be so lax. If you're in a call center, and please understand when I say this. I mean, if you're in a call center, say you're working in a room with a group, it may be different. But if you have people coming into the workplace, into that office space that are customers and visiting in, you really need to make sure that you're mindful. I can't imagine walking into a doctor's office and I'm coming for treatment, and everybody's in there being very callous with their words and their behavior, and I'm supposed to trust them that they're going to give me, or this doctor in this office is going to care about my health care. So we have to make sure we're mindful of that.
Reading the room and like turning it on and turning it off, like break time, have your chit chats, but when there needs to be work done, it needs to be work.
Yes.
So I have a couple more questions. Okay, so Jared said, what if I'm unknowingly the toxic person in the workplace?
I'm going to leave that to Dave. Come on, Dave. What you got for Jared? Help him out.
If you're speaking it, it could be true, Jared.
Jared, you might just be that person
here. Being very self-aware. If you have someone that you trust, get that feedback. And that's not the best characteristic, even though you can be resourceful, being a little bit of a gossip. You don't want to ruin anyone else's experience. So I would check yourself and, get some awareness around that.
I tell you, I love these people.
It sounds like that you may already know and kind of testing your ground there. But that's great. I think it's always good for all of us to kind of keep in mind that our point of view may not always be taken the right way. You may have great intentions when you say something. I had a situation with this with a very good friend of mine recently. She finally told me, sometimes your feedback makes me feel like you're criticizing me. And I'm like, oh my God, I would never do that. But, I had to check there and see. I'm so glad she was honest about that, because I would never do that. But sometimes you come off a little differently, and it may be that they really, really care about you. When you get information like that back, you may really care about somebody, but do check yourself and ask and make sure you're doing the right thing.
And I think it's always good. I think it's always good to do a self-examination of yourself. What are you bringing to the situation? Are you bringing something positive? Or are you bringing something negative that can be harmful to the department or to someone else? So
I think it depends on the individual you're communicating with too. Like some people may need a little more of that tough love approach, whereas some people might need more of like encouragement. And so I think you kind of have to be mindful, kind of like what we said earlier, just like read the room. How can I communicate with this person to get through to them? Especially if you're in any sort of like leadership role, you have to kind of adjust the way you bring things up or address something depending on who the person is.
It might be too that you're in a difficult job, and so the character of everybody may be basically really good, but think about it, people who are in customer service having to deal with angry people all the time or very difficult situations all the time, that may be, it may be that it's not really, your intention to be difficult or seem difficult, or that department may be a place that's not open and good. That just the toxicity of the customers sometimes can make things a little difficult for you. So interesting. You just have to. There's so many dynamics. You have to pick apart the leadership, pick apart the people around you. Pick apart the situation that you're in, the day that you're in. Is there a full moon? Who knows? I mean, there's always something that that lends itself to affect the situation, and you just have to be careful about reading things. You can overread, that things are very positive and great. You can overread that things are completely negative and toxic. So like they said, you just have to be careful and just stay your course and keep your boundaries and just watch yourself.
100%. I agree.
We have a couple more questions. So there's kind of two. I'm going to group these two questions together because they're kind of similar. Piers Reese said, "Is there no solution to office bullying?" And James on Facebook said, "Is there any fix to toxic employees?" So how would you guys address office bullying or just toxic employees from a leadership standpoint?
I think it's a good Val question.
We're just gonna throw it out. Well, I think that if from in the workplace, there should be some policies there. That's definitely an HR issue. If you're feeling that you're being bullied, I would always recommend starting with your supervisor. And if it's your supervisor that you're feeling it's coming from, then just take it up the chain or go to HR because it's definitely. Can you pull? Yes, sorry, the door came open. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's definitely not a healthy environment, and you don't want to become that. You don't want to get yourself in a situation that can be harmful. So that's the part one. What was the part two on that question?
How to handle toxic employees and office bullying.
Fix, yeah. Can toxic situations or toxic people be fixed?
There's this one.
I think there's one fix for that toxic person. If I've talked to you and I've talked to you and you're not changing that behavior, we've had some verbal conversations, we've had some written conversations, then we either have to escalate that thing to either move you on or move you on, because you cannot allow it to infest the whole team. So
I wonder if your question is, whether you're in that leadership role, where you're the one having those conversations, trying to fix, your team, or if you're on the team looking to your leadership.
I think in that one too, I like that, but I think that even if I'm speaking from the leadership. If you are a leader and if you're struggling with trying to fix it, bring someone else in to assist you. You definitely have to have a conversation with that employee or employees that is creating that environment. And then if you are that person on that team, that employee that is part of that toxic environment, I think the leadership have a responsibility to the other employees and to you to fix it. So
I would also add, if you are going to have that conversation either as a leader or as a team member who's not telling on but bringing it to leadership's attention, I would have some proof, show some examples of maybe email sent or
exactly,
because you don't want to be in a position where your intention or their intention and the impact doesn't match up. You can give like substantial results to say, this is what happened. That happened to me. I was in a bullying situation at work and she was a superior to me. So I had to go above my boss, her boss, and we had a meeting, but I had my receipts. I was like, this is what happened. I tried to fix it. It didn't work. And, and also, like you, if you're the one bringing it, hopefully your character will speak to help you in your case so that they know this is not how you normally operate. You're not the toxic person. It'll be in your favor, because that worked for me. And I think that if you're in that situation, hopefully it'll work for you too.
Yes.
It's interesting you say that. I have a lot of patients who will come and say that, somebody maliciously, like they're getting a divorce and the other spouse, turn them into CPS or something. They have to go before a judge, and they're like, I'm a parent and all these great things. I'm like, most of the time leadership, so like a judge or something, most of the time leadership already knows who you are. And read between the lines. They hear the chatter. They hear all the drama. They know. And they know who's good and who's not. So you don't always have to worry about proving yourself, but bringing in documentation is extremely important.
Yes.
And it's important for a leader too, when you're going to an employee,
You
that
need
you
to have real examples. Have your information.
and
Exactly.
you write them up and let them sign it. Cover yourself.
Yes.
Like you spoke to them about this incident and have them sign off on it too. And it's
Yes.
kind of a 3 strikes you're out
Mhm.
situation, but it's documented and that saves you and your company from the liabilities
Yeah.
that come behind it.
It really does. It really does. I think that's good. I think you guys gave some great feedback. Well, are we at the top of the hour?
Almost.
Almost. I think we can answer one more question.
Okay, let's give it to them.
Oh, sorry, wrong one.
We appreciate you too.
This is from Lima or Lima, I'm not sure. On Facebook says, when should you leave a toxic job?
When it starts to affect you emotionally, personally, it's, you're just at that point, you're no longer good. Whenever you're in a situation and you're not good for yourself,
Right.
and it's okay to be, people like to say you shouldn't be selfish, but it's okay to be selfish for your mental health.
Yes.
It's okay to make the decision to leave a toxic environment, whether it is a personal relationship or a professional relationship, but just plan your stuff out. Don't make a decision in the midst of emotions, kind of step back and really think your way through it and then plan your exit. So unless someone else has something different, you want to add to it, Dr. Pinkston, Dave, or even Abigail?
People come to me all the time with these situations, both personally and professionally, and ask my opinion on it. I tell them, to make a list of pros and cons and kind of journal these things out and look at it on paper for one. But, when you are losing sleep, when you're bringing it home and, the children are under attack or the spouse is under attack, when your emotional health is being threatened and things are changing around you, that is stress that needs to be resolved. If you've taken all the steps, be sure and take steps to fix it and understand it. But if you have done all of these things and that cons list is getting longer and longer and you are being affected, a lot of people ask me for medication to face their job every day. It's time to make some changes. Val is right. Plan ahead.
Yes.
Don't do anything rash. But definitely, you see the red flags. You see the signs are coming.
Right.
And I like that you brought in that a lot of times people come to you and ask for medication so that they can handle themselves on the job.
Yep.
That's definitely when you need to be looking, and not saying that you don't need it, but that's definitely a time that you really need to be saying to yourself, I need to start planning my exit strategy because it is definitely affecting me, and which is going to ultimately affect your home life. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Because we all wake up on Monday morning and we're like, I don't want to go to work today.
Yes.
Everybody does that. So
Yes.
that feeling is normal, right? Because it's the beginning of the week. You have to wake up early, whatever. But if you are actually the whole way on your way to work, you're dreading it. You're like, oh, I really don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. And then your whole day, that feeling never lets up. Because normally, even on a day that you're tired, at some point in the day, you're like, okay, I'm happy to be here. I'm ready to work or whatever.
Yeah.
But that feeling kind of never goes away day after day after day, week after week. You kind of have to observe your own feelings and your own behavior, because just because you wake up one day and you don't want to go, that doesn't mean that you should quit your job.
Exactly.
You might just need a rest day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have anything to add to that?
I think y'all touched on everything I would have said around doing the right things, planning for it, and just making sure that you try to fix it before. Sometimes you got women to take care of. You can't just up and leave. So talking to someone, trying to fix the situation, move different departments before you just say, okay, I'm done. But give yourself permission to do that if you are at that point. And there's always another way, another job, another way to make money. So don't feel like you have to stay there. There's always another way.
Yes.
Legally.
I have really enjoyed this conversation. You guys, this has been a little therapy for me on the road. You just never know what you're dealing with. When you're responsible for someone else's life or you're working, and you are responsible even with your coworkers.
Yeah.
Your interactions with them affect someone. You have to check yourself to make sure that you're in a good place. and what you're putting out there. So again, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Before we wrap it up, I am going to turn today. Actually, I'm going to start with Dr. Pinkston, the lady with the new rock. Did you?
Oh,
Yes, congratulations again. And what would you like to leave the people with and let them know how to find you?
Thank you. Yes. Well, leaving you guys with, I think we've given a lot of great advice today, and I'll go back to some of our earlier shows and the advice there about following your gut. When you see those red flags and you feel inside something's not right, you need to trust yourself. And but again, just make sure that you are accountable. I love it what Dave said: accountable, responsible, and she mentioned something else. But those are all the things that you definitely want to do and keep good boundaries. So, but you guys can find me. I do have my own podcast. It is drpbetterlife.com. And you can find all the links there. It is on every platform, but you've got the iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Got a lot of great information there. Would love to have you guys share and see me on there and find out all my clinical information and social media as well. Please come take a look.
And again, congratulations. Can't wait till the bridal party.
Yeah,
We're going somewhere.
yeah, good time, Marie.
All right.
Congrats.
Dave,
Yes, I'm so excited for you, Dr. Pinkston. That was like the highlight of my day when I saw that on the gram.
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So, I feel like when we talk about red flags in the workplace, it's really a conversation about the culture that you're in too. So be mindful of observing the culture, looking at leadership, looking at teammates, checking yourself to make sure it's not you just not wanting to be responsible, and plan your exit strategy because your mental health is so important. So I love this conversation. I think it works for corporate business owners. You can even take it as far as relationships, red flags in relationships, and whatever environment you're in, apply the same rules there.
Yes.
So thank you for this great topic. And for you guys to find me, thank you, Abby. You can go to my website at Simplicity by Day. I help people with all things productivity and organizing, creating order. I speak, I coach. I also have a podcast, The Modern Mompreneur, and you can find all that out on my website. So I love to connect with you guys.
I was on it too. That was
Yeah.
fun.
Both.
Yes, we
Val
both.
and Dr. Pinkston have been guests.
Yes, I tell you. One of the things about us, God has really created a village. We really do support one another, and we really do believe in supporting people out there and building you up. So I'm so excited to have you guys on. I'm so happy we were able to get back on. Abigail, what do you want to leave the people with?
I want to leave the people with, hold on, I'm trying to find it. Download the LV with Val app because we have all things LV with Val. Miss Carter has a million businesses. So she has a VK Career Conversation, which you are watching right now. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the things. And then, of course, that is from VK Consultant Group because Miss Carter is the baddest medical business consultant there is. So, so she's in Arkansas, she's in Houston, she's wherever you need her to be.
It's always somewhere. So I'm really excited. This is something that I really have a passion about because when I first walked away from corporate America, it was nothing like this out there for me. I just knew that I wanted to do something for myself. Trust your gut. Trust what's already on the inside of you. You could also be that person celebrating 21 years later, walking away and taking a chance on yourself. So until next time, we love you and goodbye.